So I've been waiting to do a new book haul until I felt like I had bought a bunch of books. And then I was looking at some of the random stacks around the library room. And I was like, oh, I've actually collected quite a few books recently, so let's do a haul. Hi guys, welcome back, bienvenue and all that jazz. It's time to talk about some books. Or today, let's just jump into a bunch of books that I have acquired recently. I'll give you a brief little rundown if I know what they're about. If I have no idea or I can't summarize it, I will just read the blurb and show you a nice zoom in of the cover while I do so for your viewing entertainment. But there are quite a few books here, so let's just dive right in. Let's start with, I have this lovely box set of the Throne of Glass series that my friend Jashana so kindly sent to me, and I have shown you in my recent wrap-up that I actually finished this entire series. I have a ranking of which is my favorite that I kept spoiler-free. So if you want more information about how I felt about the Throne of Glass series, you could check over there, but it was a great time. It's the first full series buddy read that I've ever done since joining BookTube, and if you like angsty fantasy romance with the protective male fated mate tropes, but also with some pretty epic, huge stakes stuff, then I can't recommend this series high enough. It's a very fun time. Do I think that it will completely blow your mind or devastate you forever? No, not really, but it's so fun. So if you haven't read it, it is a BookTube darling staple. So you might as well check it out. I would say that I really enjoyed the order that I read them in. So technically speaking, this first one here, The Assassin's Blade, is a bind-up of prequel novellas, but they are in chronological order and tell basically a complete story. And this was originally published, I want to say, in between Heir of Fire and Queen of Shadows, so you can easily read them in publication order. However, I think that The Assassin's Blade shows you Selena being an awesome assassin and gives you context for how she is where she starts in the beginning of Throne of Glass. If you don't necessarily care about that context, you would of course read publication order. No judgments here, but Throne of Glass. Then the other thing that Jashana was so kind to send me is I've been reading the Legends of the First Empire series by Michael J. Sullivan, and this has quickly been becoming one of my favorite series of all time. So I've read the first 3 books, and I am hoping that I can get to the next 3 books in July, August at the very latest, because I need to know. But this is the beautiful box set that you can get directly from Mr. Sullivan's website. So this is kind of classic epic fantasy, but with enough twists to keep it fresh and exciting. I have a full spoiler-free review / spoiler-filled gush of the first book, Age of Myth, so I'll link that if you want more details. But Legends of the First Empire is classic epic fantasy, elves versus humans, really just showing you how that first empire in this world came to be. Then my husband knows that I have been in the middle of this book. I've been sitting at 63% since maybe March. And that is Dune. So we found this beautiful edition with the teal edges in our local Barnes & Noble. And so he snagged it for me so that I can finally finish this book. I'm hoping that I'll get to it maybe late July if I get through everything else, or who knows. But Dune is a classic sci-fi staple. I will say some things have not aged particularly well, especially the homophobic presentation of the bad guys are all gay people, and so that's not my fave, but just it's very transportive sci-fi, and I can see the influence that it had on later works on things like Star Wars and all of these other things. So for that reason, I've still been enjoying my read-through of it. It's just been taking me a while because I was listening to the audiobook, and then the audiobook got returned, and then I just haven't gotten it again because it's several months wait. And so it's just been kind of sitting on my back burner, but I need to finish it because I've read the first part that covers what they did in the new Denis Villeneuve movie, but I haven't read past that, so I don't know what else happens. Then I got sent this by a lovely author in the Australia place, and he sent me, this is the start to his new fantasy series, Blood of the Spear. The series is called The Eye of Eternity. It is, again, very classic, epic fantasy feeling. It definitely, you can see some strong inspirations from especially The Wheel of Time in this book. I am currently reading it. I'm 60-70% of the way through. And so it's basically this world where there used to be these people known as summoners that summoned demons to their world that wreaked havoc. And so in modern times, if you are born with the mark of the summoner on your hand, you are killed pretty much upon birth to try to prevent anything like that ever happening again. So there was this big political upheaval, and so there's this new house in power, and one of the original houses in power has kind of faded into legend, and people think that they are all gone. And so we start following our two brothers, Kyle and I want to say his brother's name is like Darian. Yeah, Darian and Kyle, and they are embroiled in things that they don't understand and get sent on a quest, basically. So I don't really want to say much more than that because I don't want to spoil anything for you, but it's basically classic prophecy-based epic fantasy adventure, very Wheel of Time inspired. So if that sounds good to you, you should definitely check it out because it's fantastic and it's self-published. So if you're one of those people that really like self-pub or need to check out more, you're welcome. Then my friend Ingrid over at Ingrid Inspired had recently been looking for books that are very reminiscent of The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune, meaning they're just this warm, cozy, queer fantasy, basically. And so she read this and loved it and sent it to me, and I have since read it and also loved it. And this is the graphic novel, The Life of Melody, and it's by Mari Costa. And it's just like adorable slice of life graphic novel fantasy. Basically, these two supernatural men find a baby and decide to raise it together. And so it's the shenanigans of this troll variant and this fairy raising this daughter together. And it's just so cute, so wholesome. If you want a hug in graphic novel form that just has like the cutest like animations and stuff, I would recommend this book highly. It's great. It's so fun. Then my lovely mother had signed me up for Illumicrate, so I started getting Illumicrate in May. So I have the May Illumicrate book, and that is The Book of Night by Miss Holly Black in this gorgeous black and white, black sprayed edge. And then it has this really beautiful foiling on the cover. And I know very little about The Book of Night or Holly Black in general. I know that she wrote the Cruel Prince series. I have the first book, The Cruel Prince, that I have never read. I do know that a lot of people have been disappointed in this book, saying that basically the magic system seems overly convoluted and confusing, and it could have easily been fleshed out if the book was longer, because you can see like she's short, and this is one of those classic cases of it's a YA author's debut into the adult age range, and so maybe they were hoping for like a bigger leap into darker, more gritty adult. I don't totally know what people were expecting. I've never read from her. I still plan to read this and see what I think, but I know nothing about what it's about. So let's see. Charlie Hall has never found a lock she couldn't pick, a book she couldn't steal, or a bad decision she wouldn't make. She's spent half her life working for glomists, magicians who manipulate shadows to peer into locked rooms, strangle people in their beds, or worse. Glomists guard their secrets greedily, creating an underground economy of grimoires, and to rob their fellow magicians, they need Charlie. So I think that it has almost like a mystery element, shadow magic. We'll find out. Then I only have the first book. The second book is out in the living room, and I'm too lazy to go get it, so don't at me about it. But I got the first two books in the Aurelian Cycle by Rosaria Munda. This is Fireborn, and I also have Flamefall because I'm participating in the read-along that Elle is hosting over on her Patreon. So if you want to, she's been doing reading sprints, and there'll be a live show after the third book comes out in August. So if you want more deets for that, you should go check out Elle's channel. But I didn't really know what to expect. So I've read this first book now, Fireborn. I finished it last night. And for some reason, I was expecting it to be much more historical-based fantasy, because when she describes it, she almost describes it as like the Russian Revolution, but if there were dragons. And yes, but it's for some reason when I heard that, I was like, oh, it's Anastasia. There's going to be the Romanovs. There's going to be Rasputin. No. This is a completely fantasy world where there used to be these dragon lords, and they were very like tyrannical lords who would take tithes of food from their people, and they were living in luxury while everybody else was starving. Very that like classic European type setup. And there was a revolution where they overthrew these dragon lords, And so now we are seeing kind of the repercussions of trying to find the footing of this new meritocratic society where they basically take this test and get assigned into a metal group. So there's irons, bronzes, silvers, and golds, with irons on the bottom, golds on the top. And you basically test into these different categories for your aptitude, and then the irons take the kind of grunt work, the more unskilled labor of mining and things like that. And then you go all the way up to the golds, are basically like your political leaders and stuff like that. And so what they've done is they had some dragon eggs left over. And so new people, if they tested into the right aptitude, were able to see if they could bond these dragons and have been training to become these new dragon riders. And this book starts with looking at this competition to become what's called first rider, which is basically the person who is like the general of the dragon rider fleet, if you will. And so we're following these two different characters, Lee and Annie. Lee comes from a serf background, so she was bottom of the barrel, and horrible things happened to her family from the old dragon lords. And we're also following Lee, who is the basically lost son of one of these dragon lords who survived the brutal massacring of his family. And we explore lots of trauma, but it's like such a nuanced take on looking at the propaganda, why the propaganda is being said, the different sides of how the irons perceive the propaganda that's being fed to them versus the golds who are making it. And just like, it's such an interesting, nuanced take, but it is not happy. It is depressing and it's heartbreaking, but so good. So if you haven't read Fireborn or Flamefall, I would highly recommend them. They're fantastic. Then I just picked up a couple more things based on recommendations. So I picked up The Boneshard Daughter by Andrea Stewart based on Elle's recommendation. I know many people have been talking about this for a long time, but I don't know anything about it, so let's just read the brief little blurb. The Emperor's reign has lasted for decades, his mastery of bone shard magic powering the animal-like constructs that maintain law and order. But now his rule is failing, and revolution is sweeping across the Empire's many lands. When the Emperor refuses to recognize his daughter as heir to the throne, she vows to prove her worth by mastering the forbidden art of bone shard magic. Yet such magic carries a deadly cost. Sounds cool. Then, based on Jashana's recommendation, I picked up Son of the Storm by Suyi, Davies, Okungbawa. And this is very African-based fantasy, and this cover is so cool. But again, I know nothing. I just picked it up because in the city of Bassa, Danso is a clever scholar on the cusp of achieving greatness, only he doesn't want it. Instead, he prefers to chase forbidden stories about what lies outside the city walls. The Basai elite claim there is nothing of interest. The city's immigrants are sworn to secrecy. But when Danso stumbles across a warrior wielding magic that shouldn't exist, he's put on a collision course with Bassa's darkest secrets. Drawn into the city's hidden history, he sets out on a journey beyond its borders, and the chaos left in the wake of his discovery threatens to destroy the Empire. Okay. And then the most recent thing I got, if you follow me over on the Instagram, you would have already seen pictures of this. But this is the new June Illumicrate for 2022, and it is We All Fall Down by Szabo. So just drink her in. Nice foiling. Okay. But now we get to the real stunning part. Look. Just look. And then the naked hardback itself is nothing to write home about. It's just like a plain green, but I'm not even mad about it because, hello. And then it's also signed by the author. I know from early reviews that I've seen of this on Goodreads, it's not looking promising, but I'm still going to read it because it's gorgeous and I have it. So, in River City, where magic used to thrive and is now fading, the witches who once ruled alongside their powerful king have become all but obsolete. The crumbling government is now controlled primarily by the new university and teaching hospital, which has grown to take over half the city. Moving between the decaying old city and the ruthless new city, 4 young queer people struggle with the daily hazards of life: work, school, and dodging power-hungry cops and unscrupulous scientists, not realizing that they have been selected to play in an age-old drama that revives the flow of magic through their world. When a mysterious death rocks their fragile peace, the 4 are brought into each other's orbits as they uncover a deeper magical conspiracy. I mean, that sounds pretty good. I don't know why people have been hating on it so much, but I'll read it and let you know. And with that, friends, that is all of the books that I've been accumulating since maybe February. So I've bought, like 4 or 5 books? That's not too bad, though. It's not too bad. we're doing good with the trying to hold back on extensive book buying. Have you read any of these books? Should I prioritize any of the ones that I haven't read yet? Let me know. What is your favorite book that you've picked up recently? Put it down in those comments down below. Let's talk about it. But with that, friends, that's all I have for you today. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you want to see more bookish shenanigans like this from moi, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!